the SM Media Podcast Network.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2026. I'm Scott McPike. It's always a delight to be your host as always, and we are 3 weeks away from the biggest week in the racing calendar. And to join me to look back on probably the last big weekend of clues, but certainly a lot of stuff coming out over the past few days, it's a delight to welcome from the Scottish Daily Mail, Callum McClurkin. How are we?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, 3 weeks is quite a scary thought, isn't it now? Yeah, big horses trying to sneak a final qualifying run in and all sorts of things now. So that's kind of just about it, really.
Is the question that I'm looking outside and it is dry at the moment. Is it ever going to stop raining? Is the question
Yeah.
I've asked myself a lot this week, but it seems to be okay today.
Yeah, it might be getting the other side of that now, but it's still been kind of quite damp. People looking at long-term weather forecasts, and there's even going betting already, and it's even money soft, 5 to 4 good to soft, and 4 to 1 heavy. So I mean, it looks about right. Soft ground start, I think, probably percentage call them might be good to soft in places, but it's usually the kind of barometer that these festivals start on anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll get into the action over the weekend. We'll start with a lot of stable tours are coming out, particularly the kind of Irish trainers are making their kind of marks in terms of what they're saying in terms of where targets are being aimed for certain horses. I've just listened to Henry de Bromhead one there, for example. We'll get into that in a wee second. Willie Mullins has had his, Gordon Elliott, Barry Connell, and Joseph's even had one. Like, there's a lot of trainers making their mark. Any kind of big takeaways from the stable tours for you?
And to be honest, not particularly. I think you're kind of comfortable and confident where you're going. And the Irish ones come out a bit earlier. The Willie Mullins one was pretty pointless in truth. I mean, a lot of the big guns that we all know about, they're still kind of up in the air, and there was nothing really suggested about handicaps until we saw the entries yesterday. So there was nothing really enlightening. It's probably done a week too early, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, Gordon Elliott a bit more upfront with things a little bit, but there's no kind of real major earth-shattering stuff, I don't think.
From an Ante-Post kind of perspective, a couple of things. Henry de Bromhead, I literally watched one about 10 minutes before we started recording, gave a big mention to King's Bucks, who he does say is prime for Albert Bartlett. Big Westerner looks to be 90% heading towards the Brown Advisory, which is quite interesting. And also as well, the other one, Full of Life, he says, Full of Life and Echo and Silence are going for the Mayor's Novice. So big kind of takeaways. Envoy Allen Gold Cup for Henry de Bromhead. I think Big Wester's probably the big one to take away from that, because she is probably the kind of the rightful favourite at the moment for the Brown Advisory. I think that's a big statement that they're already saying we're going to go Brown Advisory.
To be honest, I mean, I think she was going that way anyway. Once you're second and Albert Bartlett staying on like that, you're not going to go back and trip, are you, into open company? So I mean, use a £7 allowance. Yeah, it's the right race. It's looked like the right race, in my opinion, for her all season. The big kind of question is that her direct form isn't quite up there with the best at the moment on numbers, but she hasn't really kind of needed to show it yet. So she's going to go there with a big chance in a really open race.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into handicap entries later on. There was obviously a couple of eye catchers that we'll talk about in terms of that. We'll do that after we discuss the kind of big performances over the weekend. We'll start with the big race on Saturday, the final Grade 1 before the festival, and it was another Grade 1 for Jonbon to beat Pick Dory to win the Ascot Chase. 5 to 1 now for the Ryanair. Looks to be, if he is going to Cheltenham, that looks to be the kind of most likely target. Very interesting. Again, Jonbon, before we get into the race, Callum, another Grade 1. Only one horse since 2000 has won more Grade 1s than him. It's Cottle Star. Been a magnificent horse in his time.
Yeah, he'll dance every dance, isn't he? And come up and trip, and he seems to be getting better for that trip, really. Age of 10, still going strong. Like, probably one of the light Grade 1 contests that he's had to take in his career, but he's just have a great desire to win, and he knuckled down again when he had to win. Momentarily two out, going on the bench, you're thinking he's got to switch about a bit wide here and pick Dory's fine a little bit more, and he's got to pull out the fire a little bit, but he just wanted it more in the running. Winning by a length and a half in the line, pretty snuggle in the end, and yeah, he definitely stayed that new trip quite well. Interesting if he take it's another hard race he's had, in fairness, and the Ryanair won't be easy for him. We know his Cheltenham Festival record, and that's kind of unfairly kind of pegs him down in some people's minds. But he's like 20 wins and 27 or something like that in his whole career, and a lot of grade ones in there. And yeah, he digs deep to win, even when he gets beat, when he made that mistake in the Champion Chase. He's still kind of running a really good race to kind of place. So yeah, I mean, a cracking horse, and he's still got races in that level. Maybe it'll be more grade 2 next season if they keep going with him. But yeah, he's definitely great, and you can kind of think that maybe if we just have one tilt at something like a King George next season, and just go for that kind of top prize over a little bit further, we can squeeze a bit more out of him. But yeah, it was definitely a nice little match race to watch.
Well, he's beat Pic Dory again. I think Pic Dory's the ground probably wasn't exactly what he would want, but I think he was well beaten on the day. If Frank Berry and JP McManus came to you and said, "What's the plan for the rest of the season? Do you do the Ryanair, or do you just skip that, go to Aintree, and then maybe go to kind of Sandown or whatever they want to do?" Because he won the Clarence House and again had to dig deep to win that. Then he goes and wins an Ascot Chase where he has to kind of gamely win it as well. Cheltenham, I don't necessarily think his record at Cheltenham's horrific, but he doesn't win as much as he does at Ascot, for example, even though he jumps to his left. If Frank Berry and JP McManus came to you, what would you be your advice to them?
Yeah, I go Aintree really, particularly. But I mean, if you get Fact to File as well, they've got. So I mean, it depends if he runs in the Gold Cup. So I mean, there's a lot of spinning plates there to figure out. But he's hardly enough durable enough to take his chance. I mean, remember Shishkin when he went up to Ryan and he just got beat by one, and he didn't jump too well that day. But the new course might help Jonbon a little bit in that regard. But he likes to kind of be handy. He likes to dominate, and you'd leave him in there, maybe leave it a late decision, see if it cuts up dramatically or not, and then kind of maybe make a late call about it. But I'd be inclined to go Aintree. But he's definitely what he definitely is he's a tough, hardy horse that takes his racing in really well. Wants to win. You see a lot of kind of horses entering the veteran stage that wouldn't put that kind of level application into a finish. And to his credit, particularly how many battles he's been through, to keep sticking out like that is really impressive.
So I'm going non-runner no bet prices here because Jonbon's 4-1 non-runner no bet, but the ones I'm looking at just now, Fact to File and Gaelic Warrior are both even money. There's a debate that we can maybe have another day about where they go, but if one of those go against Jonbon and the Ryanair, do you think they would win?
Yes, they'd beat him.
I think they would as well. And I actually would worry about the race that he's had there. And if it was me, would you go, again, he's won a Melling Chase, would you think about the bowl for him at Aintree and give him that opportunity if it's better ground?
This way, I would rather go up 3 miles to him than go back to 2 miles with him.
That's what I would think as well. Yeah, I mean, the Ryanair's a race I imagine we'll maybe talk about that further in a couple of minutes. But overall, really good day for Jonbon as well. We'll see what happens in terms of the Cheltenham Festival. We've got 3 performances each, so we're going to talk about. Maybe not all of these will be Cheltenham in mind, but we'll certainly kind of do what we can with them. We'll go with you first. What was your performance of the weekend that wasn't Jonbon?
Honestly, I mean, I quite like Dawson Lad at Haydock.
Okay.
And that kind of ballot trip. Now, I can see why they're going to Aintree with him instead. They say they've got Money Garrow for it. I don't think he's that strong a stayer, personally, but going here gives him a bit extra time. One reasonable race. Again, just goes from the front box on quite well. I mean, I saw him debut at Ayr. It looked pretty good. Wasn't sure that he would maybe get to this level, but he keeps finding more. It's impressive, and he's kind of typical steer that they've kind of taken their time with the season, brought him to the boil quite nicely, and I can see why the Grand Sefton's kind of the target with him. Really, I think he's stayed pretty well. He's pretty ground versatile. No, he caught a lot of people out. I mean, I didn't bet at all on the weekend, but I mean, it caught a lot of people out because everyone's anticipating heavy ground, and then by 2 races it was good to soft. So I mean,
Yeah.
That just fundamentally isn't good enough for punters. I mean, simple as that. But this lad did it well, backed again quite well. 5-2 favourite. And, he won a similar race there. It was a handicap last year, last time out last month, where he beat Stay Away Fee pretty nicely. And yeah, he just keeps doing enough from the front, and he's going off kind of well backed all the time. He's won 3 in a row now. And he's had a lot of racing for him. And he's gone up another £7 to 136. I think that kind of underestimates him a little bit. I can see why they're kind of chucking him in Grand Sefton way. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he progresses further, because he's got a record of like 5 and 8 now, and his 2 hurdle reverses were a little bit soft. At Cheltenham at the start of the season, he went missing, but he went off 11-8 favourite that day for a decent Class 2 race in the tour meeting. So he's definitely improving as he gets the hang of it. He's settling a lot better, and he's very uncomplicated from the front.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good as well. And again, like, he's got 5 runs, he's got experience, and it must be a bit of confidence in Monagaro that they are deciding that they'll go with this to Aintree, because it is the sort of thing that when it was good to soft, but when you've looked at this race, I don't think he's particularly beaten much. I thought the second stayed on pretty well, but I think he was entitled to do this, and he did it pretty well. Would just think that'd probably be the right move to go to Aintree and swerve Cheltenham.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, time wise as well. Coming from here, it's 3 weeks for Stairs. That's quite a tight turnaround. He likes these kind of big galloping tracks as well. Flat. It's reasonably for him, and I just like the way he kind of does it as a steer. He does it with minimal fuss. Garrow, to me, I think he's probably get a bit more class, but I don't think he's an out and out steer. I think he might, if it's an end-to-end Bartlett gallop, and I think there's going to be a big field in that race. I think he might struggle to kind of see it out. I mean, I thought that he was going to be their Martin Pipe project. They've got Eno Patti for that, really at the top of the market now, who does, funnily enough, look like a 3-mile steer, but I thought they'd flip them around a bit. Monagara's just got more Cheltenham form, and I think when he did bomb out at Cheltenham at the start of the season, I think that's probably why they wanted to go the Aintree route as well. It might not like the track.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to stay Haydock for my performance of the weekend. I really liked the performance of Manlaga in the opening race, the juvenile hurdle. I think this is a very, very nice horse, and a pretty promising horse. She beat Porquoy Papa Pat. Obviously came on for her first run where she was beaten by David Bass was the jockey. I forget the name of the horse, but I thought Brian Hughes got her into a much better rhythm here, settled her well at the back, made a kind of nice move in the kind of opening of the race, and just kind of ran on pretty well. She's been given 130 by the handicapper. She is entered in the Boodles. Callum, I'm keen to get your thoughts on this, because at the start of the season, when the Triumph Hurdle market was first introduced, you can take that with a pinch of salt, as I'd imagine a lot of punters do. But she was joint favourite with Cecil Haas for a while. She has still entered the Triumph Hurdle, but if she's going to get a mark of 130, I think she's a good chance in the Boodles. I think she's a good horse. I think she's going to get better.
Particularly if we settle a lot nicer in the back, beat the right one home. Second to Mangalese, will just get caught in the running when experience gets outspeed a little bit. And that was a step up again. Qualifies because I had that French run in March, so that's a 3. And yeah, I mean, 130 definitely doesn't look beyond her. It's just whether she's experienced enough yet for a race like that.
I think a bigger field will help her, actually. I think she'll settle a bit better on a bigger field.
Could well do. I mean, it was just a non-runner at Chepstow at the start of the season, so I mean, and that's kind of nice little grade 2. So soft ground might be important to her in that regard.
Maybe, yeah.
Chepstow dried out quite quickly that day, and Nicky Henderson was quite quick to pull her out. So drying ground would be a bit of a worry, but the first day at Cheltenham, usually you get away with that. It's soft, good to soft, I would think. So yeah, she's one of several that's going to be a player for it if she goes there. And she does still had the Triumph entry, but I don't think the owner would want to take on Cecil, particularly when you've got Proactive as well. When you've got a nice mark there to probably worth trying to exploit.
Yeah, and again, like there's Saratoga in the race. I don't think he's going to be bothered about, I've got 1 for this. As I say, 2 for the same trainer last year in the same colour. So I think he'll throw a few darts at the Boodles, and I think she's got a very, very good chance in it. Where are you going next for your performance of the weekend?
Hello, Imperi Pass.
Yes, good to see him.
He's here, and he should have been here a lot earlier. From the back of the last, what he did to win that Red Mills chase was pretty impressive under a double penalty, because he gave himself plenty of work to do under a sympathetic ride from the back, where he did look really rusty in his reappearance. Got a hang of it and whooshed home like a really classy horse that he definitely is. Now, whether they go Ryanair or not, it seems unlikely, and the trainer's been more consistent than not going to Aintree, but they must be tempted now, particularly if he reroutes his two to the Gold Cup like they should for the basic decency of horse racing. Really, you don't want to be a Gold Cup horse. You should be running the Gold Cup. In fact, File and Gaelic Warrior look like ample Gold Cup horses. They're probably going to be split up though. This fella could go to Aintree, and if he does, I think it'd be a real shame, because that's the third Cheltenham Festival in a row where he'd missed through no fault of his own. Really, I mean, he's now gone up to 160. I think he's better than that. I think he's one of the top 10 horses in the country, definitely one of the top 10 steeplechasers in the country, and we're not been able to see it, sadly.
If they do go to Aintree, although obviously he's had a good record at Aintree, would you tempt? Again, I'm going to ask you the bowl question. Like, I feel as if we're talking about the bowl more than the Gold Cup. Would you go Melling or the bowl?
It's interesting. He's in the Grand National, isn't he?
Is he? Yeah.
Would you go up to three? I mean, he definitely handled three around there. He can enter them both. I think he'd win either. I think he's that good. I mean, I do think. I actually think he might have won a Brown Advisory last year. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the nick of that race, I mean, like he's twice the horse Lakey Watson is. He was brought down. My opinion, it was very unlucky at Punchestown. If I was connected with the horse, I'd be slightly peeved at how he's been campaigned in recent years. I mean, I don't think we've seen anywhere near the best of him. He's a 5-time Grade 1 winner. He's pulled a Grade 2 out the fire from a horse that's had first run on him of 151 with a double penalty in his reappearance, where he's just come from the back of the last with a wet sail to win, and he's won by length and a half in the line, going away quite comfortably over a trip that's now probably too short for him. I actually think he would have gone close to winning the King George. If you look at the collateral form where he beat Django Bay at Aintree, look where he's finishing. He's at the top of the Gold Cup market, and he was unlocking the King George. So, yeah, and I do think he's in that caliber of horse. Really, I mean, I think he's not far off kind of File Gaelic Warrior standard, where, I mean, he should really be kind of in the mid 160s. And for all that he's been campaigned as a spring horse, I understand why he might be doing that. But his guts of his winter form is good as well. He won that race at Limerick easily in September. In December, he's ran well in behind Tia Hupu. He's ran well in behind State Man as well. He's also won a Grade 2 in the middle of winter. He handles any type of ground going. He's only 8, so there's mileage left in the clock. He can fulfil it next year with a bit of a bolder campaign. But I think he's really, really good, and I was like to see him. I'll actually like to see him do that, because it's a reminder that he is good, and he's been forgotten for far too long this season.
Yeah, he's a good horse, and I think he's a good horse. And again, I'd like to see him in a Ryanair. I think he'd have a chance. I think he'd have a
thing
chance.
is now, doing that and then 4 weeks, and Willie Mullins isn't one to kind of deviate from a long-termish plan. Well, the start of the season, he was kind of...
He said Perth.
Well, there was one stable too that said Perth, Ayr, Sandown back in the season. Then there was another one saying we'll aim him at the John Durkin and see how it goes. So, I mean, it's next message central, really. But, I mean, he's chances of going to Perth now after that are remote, I would say.
Very low. I think the next one I'm going to talk about, again, it was a really good day for Ben Pauling at Ascot, and I thought the Jukebox Kid, jumped very, very well. Reports after the race, obviously, Ben Pauling was interviewed. He said Cheltenham might not be the kind of be all and end all. They did say they would maybe look at more Aintree and maybe races later on in the season. It was a 3-runner race, so you can kind of take it. And from he's entered in the National Hunt Chase. I thought he set a steady pace here and made all from the front. I don't think there was anything in the race that was going to get close to him. And I thought he did this fairly comfortably. And I just liked the way he jumped. I think maybe later on in the season, maybe looking Aintree, looking at maybe the kind of 3-mile chase, I think he could have a chance. I think better ground actually might help him as well. I think the Jukebox Kid, maybe even next season when he goes into open company, I think he could be one that could be maybe the not he's maybe not as good as a jukebox man, but certainly one that I like the look of maybe going forward.
Yeah, I liked him all season. And he just dictated this, and then again another one that was really strong to the line from the back of the second last. Trainer mooted Irish national for him
He did, yeah. I seen that.
after it, which would be an interesting move. He's definitely a good steer. The only kind of slight disappointment he had over fences was at Cheltenham. Funnily enough, where he didn't quite handle the track. Probably wasn't greatly positioned that day.
And he beat Montegard, who obviously won the Swinley after that. So he franked that form pretty well, and that could be a good kind of line of form as well.
Then the trainer and jockey have been excellent all season. The jukebox man win the King George, and I mean you can make a case that he's entered kind of definitely top five of British trainers. He's going to make a serious splash at Cheltenham and Aintree down the line. He did this well, but I mean it's a bit sad that there's a 3-runner Reynoldsdown, but I mean, and he did it 49, and he did it like a 49 shot. Wood Western Knight's a good horse, but he's kind of handicap territory. Might go Ultima, for instance, and Crest of Fortune probably need it coming back off, I think, a reappearance. So yeah, he didn't really have a lot to beat, but he's put them away nicely as kind of a 49 shot really should, and he jumps well, makes all it, and he can quicken as well and still gallop to the line. So he's definitely got it all, and it's hard to really tell where his ceiling is, but he could definitely go a lot better over a lot further. I think he looks like he'd get 3.5 for sure.
Yeah, I think he's a good horse, and I think Irish National could be a good option. But what's the third performance of the weekend?
To go to Wincanton and see Alexi.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't visually impressive, but I don't think you really could be in that ground.
No.
And I think it was at pains to kind of make him have an easy race as possible. Always covered Roubaud, who'd be targeted at this, but he would have liked the ground even less than Alexi did. And he's been trimmed a little bit in the Champion Hurdle market. Better ground, bigger field. I think coming off that pace, it might suit him a bit better. He won the Greatwood really well. Third of a top weight Ascot was a reasonable enough effort, and that form around him has been franked. Like he needs another £10 to fine, but in an open year, if you've got a horse of that ability, then you're definitely entitled to take a chance. And the worst each-way pokes in the world than him at 2025s, I would say.
Yeah, and again, like that ground would have been horrendous. And there was, I actually thought at times in the race, Secret Squirrel was travelling the best. But I think Alexi's class just showed.
I think he needed the run, didn't he, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Secret Squirrel probably, he's kind of decent background form, doesn't he? So, I mean, I think he was always kind of just about in control. But it was one of those Saturdays like that where, these odds-on shots they were winning, but it wasn't comfortable viewing if you've had to pair them all up to make something decent. So it's pretty hard for punters to really get involved in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go to Sunday at Punchestown. There was a few kind of decent horses, like Pure Steel was pretty good. Heads Up, obviously. Heads Up actually franking the King's Box form. Sarfatal was back. You mentioned it, horses coming back. Like this one be actually a Mullins horse that's quite well fancied, but not. I think he has been scratched from the Supreme, so I just wonder if they're maybe waiting on heavier ground, maybe get the best out of him. Sarfatal obviously beat King's Box as well. King's Box form's getting franked left, right and centre everywhere you look. But the one I really liked at Punchestown was actually in the Beginner's Chase. I thought Soldier of Milan was pretty good. Did it from the front pretty well. Got 3 runs, obviously qualifies for the Jack Richards. He's also in the Brown Advisory. Emmett Mullins, Paul Burnhorse. You can see what the kind of action is. He's improved pretty well. Obviously, he didn't finish the race at December where he pulled up. Cocktail Davin won that race. Cesta Chance beat him at Gowran at January. On that was the day of the Thyestes where the ground was absolutely. It was the pits, to be honest, and then the ground wasn't much better here. But he's beat a decent horse in Kiswell. Decent Beginner's Chase. I thought he jumped very well. He's given a mark of 142 in Ireland. You'd imagine he'd maybe get 4 or 5 in Britain. 147, maybe an each way chance in a Jack Richards.
Yeah, I thought second was equally eye catching. I mean, he didn't have the run of it, and actually did quite well to get to him the last, and the winner just pulled out more. But I thought he had the run of the race and was pretty comfortable. Kiswell also qualifies, and he'd probably go Jack Richards as well. There might be a bit more in the locker there, particularly with a mark where. He's probably going to get a bit of weight in return there. So, and it was 2 mile 7. So, you have to kind of think, are they kind of stairs, or can they kind of handle the back coming back and trip a little bit? But I thought two of them would definitely be different with radar. The Jack Richards, it looks quite a strong race this year. It looks a bit deeper than maybe last year. I would think maybe because we've had a running of it and we know how to campaign horses around it, and the Irish are a little bit more kind of in tune with it this year. So I think it'll be tougher for, like, if you're in Regent Stroll, for instance. I think this will be a lot tougher.
Yeah, I think that it's a very open race, and there's we'll touch on the handicap entries later on. I think there's a few interesting entries for this. Other kind of couple we'll maybe mention before we move on, like the likes of Ludor winning at Haydock. He's on fire, was decent yesterday, and Charisma was good and has kind of top of the county hurdle betting. Grand Jest as well. I wanted to ask you about that kind of Grand National trial for one horse in particular. What do you do with Mayertown now?
Well, he abandoned the Grand National Hope. To me, he didn't stay.
Yeah, I thought that as
Yeah,
well.
like, he's not a Corrick Rambler. He's not a Grand National type. He's more a hoist and yaw, and he's a kind of a free goer and things. So, I mean, I know it's going to dried out, but I mean, maybe a bit specialist ground, a bit tacky. Got his ground. He's jumped a little bit better there. I just think he's a rip roaring 3 mile. You just go out there and make all. Be a bit more aggressive. Stop trying to stack them up. Stop trying to kind of slow it down and then go. Just let him wing it and see how it goes. Really.
Do you get back to an Ultima?
He's going to go back to the Ultima now. That's
Would
the
you
plan.
back him for an Ultima?
No.
Mm,
Well, no, because I just think surely you watch the race last year and people will be in tune to it, and
yeah.
a deafening silence put some selective pressure on him, and just when he gets headed, I just think the toy's got the pram a little bit.
Well,
He's a bit soft in that regard. But I mean, if he had a bit of headgear on,
mm-hmm.
maybe cheeks to sharpen him up a little bit, then possibly you can return to him. But I think he'd want better ground, and first day Cheltenham might not get that this year, so it might be a bit worse ground than before. So no, I don't. I can't see myself backing from Alton.
Okay. Is there a Lucinda horse in the Ultima
No.
that ran on Friday? Would you King of Answers?
£10 hike, steep enough.
140, right? Okay. We will move on to kind of other things as well. We'll talk about handicap entries. Just fun enough, we did get a lot of entries. The one big thing, kind of thing that's got a lot of people talking about is that the Wall Park, who was backed off the boards for every single race, is now not entered in anything. Looks to be going to Irish National. Is this a warning for Ante-Post punters not to put things in your head too much, because it wasn't really mentioned?
It's a warning for anybody, because you've got to look at what the British handicapper might do, and they didn't even bother because they know what it was going to do. Jack him up. And if you've got good races at Ireland, they're all fairy house to go for it. And he's also got a trainer's title that he's in the mix, Gordon this year. You'd have to say you're going to stay at home and exploit that mark for prize money that's just as good, really. So yeah, I mean, you do have to be careful for it. I mean, it's just too short in the first place, really, for everything. And yeah, that was kind of the big glaring omission from this week.
What else caught your eye in the handicap entries?
Mines are all still standing, and that's about it, really. I think, I mean, there's like double entries. There's a lot, 80 on the Martin Pike, for instance. So I mean, it's going to take a lot of time for people to trawl through it and find something, and then you still get kind of the British reaction to it. So I mean, you've got entries that don't have concrete weights. You do have some concrete weights of the Grand National coming up. You've got double entered for like Ultimas and things like that. So if you're kind of a Grand National horse, you kind of know what you're getting, and there's been kind of some testing of the water for Per Thompson entries and things like that. But I mean, for specific weights. So while you've got entries, you've only got a bit of the puzzle because you don't actually have weights. So
yeah, we'll get weights next week.
You can have a kind of rough guess what you're doing, but I don't think there was anything to. Quelle Histoire's the only GP McManus horse in the Martin Pipe. That's probably the most interesting aspect of it.
Would you back him after the way he ran on Saturday?
Well, it's just significant, isn't it? But you wouldn't touch anything at the moment.
No. I wanted to talk about the cross country quickly, because obviously the entries are down to 23. Now, I was looking into this, and apparently a big reason for that is if Stumptown does take his chance off 163, then it's going to put a lot of these horses out the handicap. So
well, this race was apparently going to be better for being a handicap, and it isn't, is it?
No. But 23 entries for the cross country. Stumptown 163, but I'm looking in entries in kind of his profile. He's got a marker 149 over fences. What is that all about?
think it's not been updated, has it?
That's what I thought. Yeah, like it's pretty good.
But he hasn't run in Ireland, has he? So that might be his Irish mark. Over here it's Britain.
Yeah.
Favori Deschamps kind of got that a little bit.
Yeah.
His Irish mark, I think, is a bit lower, and just because he's run in Britain all season, I've not really seen it. So the revised one kicks in the BHA. The BHA and the IHRB have got separate figures sometimes.
I'm trying to. I know everybody loves a JP plot, and who am I to say that he's not entitled to do it? But I can't think of what is a worse price for a race at the Cheltenham Festival. Jaguar at 6-1 for an Ultima, or Jericho Direpany at 4s for the Kim Muir.
Both better than the Wall Park because they're still there, aren't they?
They're ridiculous. I think ridiculous, to be honest.
It's about the Kiel Histoire thing as well. I mean, they could Son of Anarchy. They have options for that. I mean, I thought he ran perfectly fine the weekend. I mean, he had a long layoff. That was a good race. He's ran in there and he's entitled to kind of blow up from it. So if he comes on massively from that, he's a big runner. So I think they're the kind of bets that you can only have really when it's sole entries and it's naturally blind and you can kind of see it really. Jericho Direpany, he is well in, didn't exploit it in the Pertomps. He's going to run his race, but he would need to improve. Jaguar, Mark kind of looked to find him out a little bit last year, but I do think he will improve a little bit for going up on trip. But the good thing is, if you don't like them now, they'll make the market, and look, they're not going to get much shorter, if at all, on the day from 4-5 to 1 territory. So no, these are type of horses that you can leave behind them. To be honest, I think the best bet at the top of the market in these handicaps is Madara by a mile on the plate.
Yeah,
I think it's absolutely lobbed in. It's Panic Attack Mark 2. And Dan Skelton had really positive word about him. He says there's a big chance. Wasn't seen at the start of the season coming back from layoff, but that run at Kempton was so softly. It was obvious. It was missed a little bit because it was the second day of the rearranged DRF, but it was a Class 3 company and he just kind of boxed on under very tender handling. His mark's there to be exploited, and if there's scope like Panic Attack to improve these horses, that horse is younger and definitely was well fancied for the Grand Annual last year, but the trip just caught him out. Going up and trip to this plate is going to be absolutely what he wants, and with the novices struggling to get in there for runs. We saw how Jaguar took it. I think he's better handicapped than Jaguar. I mean, I really do think that, and I think a lot of these will have to go Jack Richards because they've not had the runs. So I think he's a huge runner. I think he's a glaringly obvious one at the top of the markets in these handicaps. That if you're going to put in exotic multiples at this stage, he'd definitely have to be in them.
Yeah, the one I really like as well, and again, like when you was entered, he was qualified. I thought says different in the Sam Thomas horse attempts. I think 131 is a snip of what he could do. You can get 6-1 if you want to go non-runner no bet, and there was times in the season I've thought about putting him up, and again he's just went on to go, but he's 2 runs this season. I've just looked and thought you look to me to be the per temps horse, and I love the trainer. I think the trainer's magnificent with these types of horses.
Yeah, Cheltenham Festival record doubtful, and I think it might become a deeper race come a couple of weeks.
There's a qualifier on Sunday, I think.
Sunday in Essex. Windrock's concerningly interested in it.
Yes.
He might be Martin Pipe. I don't think he's a 3-miler anyway. So I mean, if he goes to Pertomps, it's the wrong race, from my opinion. So I mean, if you lose your money there and go the wrong race, so what? That can happen. Manila Emperor was a big eye catcher as well. That was second then at Mullins the weekend. That's into 10s, and you're just going to get a couple of these Irish horses now that are going to begin to fly in there late under the radar. So I think if you like that horse, I would wait. I think
I think you're going to wait as well. Again, he's one. I went back at 6-1, but I think there's a lot to come from him. But we do have a decent weekend of racing to look forward to. We've got I really like the Kempton meeting. I don't like it as much as in terms of Cheltenham Clues, but it's always a good weekend for racing. And we'll start with my favourite race of the season, which is the Adonis Juvenile Hurdle. And we're going to have a look at this here. Dan Skelton has the Precious Man in here at 4-5. One Horse Town is also entered, as is Mustang de Broy for Nicky Henderson. He's entered elsewhere, as we'll maybe touch on in a second. But Precious Man and One Horse Town obviously have a bit of form with each other. You've got a couple of decent horses here. Paul Nicholls runs. Falls of Akron looks to be going. There's a couple of French horses that have been entered. Fantasy World won't go here after his run at Musselburgh. What do you think of this? Is Precious Man the one you can just see winning?
Yeah, I think so. On the back of that Kempton run last time, I think it's just about the best form in the field. And his course and distance form, which is quite important. Yeah, I think imagine he'd go here, then he'd go Aintree, really. I think One Horse Town's probably plateaued now. Kind of know where he is in that 134 official mark. And maybe the Henderson horses take the danger if he goes here because he's a bit more unexposed. But Precious Man, been around the track, this has probably been the plan. Johnny Delahaye in these meetings as well in the colours, it'll be very well targeted. So he'd be hoping for evens in the day or a little bit better. But yeah, I think he'll take it out.
I think Precious Man will win. I'm kind of hoping Mustang De Broy goes elsewhere because obviously he'll get weight allowance and a 4-year-old allowance as well. I think Precious Man's the one to beat. Again, it looks to be Aintree's the plan. One Horse Town's in some decent form in the season, but I just think Precious Man should have enough. And the only danger I can see is Mustang De Broy if they do go here. But I'd like to think they will go elsewhere. But we're kind of both in the Precious Man camp. Pendle Novices Chase over 2.5. Jacks Junior is 11-10 favourite. You've got Go West at 3-1. Jasmine Bliss and Blue Kangaroo in here at 7. Jacks Junior does hold an Arco entry. It looks to be his only entry at the festival. What do you think of that, like with him here? Because again, he's done okay this season. Like he's obviously beaten some decent horses. He had a wind up at Christmas just after he get well beat by Steel Alley at Ascot. He's beat Jericho Derepine at the start of the season. He's some decent form here. He's got a marker 146 in handicaps. Do you think he's a potential each way player in an Arco if he takes this out?
No chance in an Arco. Don't even bother running. Yes, no, that's pointless. I mean, the thing is, you're going up and trip here to 2.5, and horses that go here just don't go to Cheltenham, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I imagine he'd just keep himself options for entry, but he is a nice jumper, although 2 Windots, mind you, but Ascot was a bit disappointing when he went further in soft ground, and I think that kind of maybe caught him out a little bit, albeit, he's bumping into likes of Steel Ally, who ran quite well that day. The third No Questions Asses won races, even the fifth Personal Ambition came out and won recently this week, so that's good form. He's won around Kempton. He's won at the distance in a certain way. I saw Go West at Musselburgh winning the Throwdown. I think a lot went his way up front. I think he'd be kind of a natural kind of grade 2 horse really, but it's not that strong. But he likes to go from the front, likes to dominate, and if he doesn't, he might struggle. But even that form was franked to a degree when Queen's Gamble came out and won, who was third that day, and she didn't get home. And back to 2 miles, she was a lot better. So yeah, the rest, I think I've got maybe a little bit to find. Imagine Blue Kangaroo is going elsewhere. Caduck St. Frey could run a race if it goes here, but I think that's got another entry. So sit between the two. I think Jacks Junior has a bit more class, hence why it's 11-10 against 4-1. But if Go West goes from the front, gets an uncontested lead, and again puts jumping under pressure, then he would be a big danger. So it'll be tactical how it plays out.
We'll go to the Dovekit, the third grade 2 of the day. We've got double measure in here at 4-1 for Harry and Dan Skelton. Hamlet's Night for James Owen along with Club de Ref for Harry Derham. Storm and George, Mustang De Broy's double entered here along with Only for Frankie. I think if Mustang De Broy goes here, obviously he'll get receipt of a lot of weight, and I think based on what he did last time at Chepstow, I think he's probably the one to beat in this.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, market just suggests it won't happen though, will it? 8s and 72 for the other race.
I think it'd be a better option. Obviously, you're getting a lot of weight, and there's not a Precious Man in here.
They do get weight for a reason, don't they? Because they're 4 and tail end of the season. Well, approaching the kind of guts of the season, its allowances might be harder because you're still kind of getting bumping into improving novices that can find a little bit more against you. I quite like the James Owen horse here, Hamlet's Night. I thought, if for an experienced horse at the age of 5 to push Rubo within a neck, only getting £6 is very good form around Wincanton. Okay, maybe wasn't his best, but that was elite hurdle. That was a grade 2 race in open company. So here at 5s and the yard are in decent nick now. Also ran quite well at Cheltenham, win behind Gave It To Me OJ, who's again a very good season handicapper. So been in good warm open races and coming back here against novices, I think he might find life a little bit easier. And I think 5-1. I thought he was definitely he was a play for me in this. Double measure could go well. won a big field race at Huntingdon. Kind of, there could be anything happening again. Skelton in these kind of Saturdays is just going to be massively respected, but I quite like Hamlet's Night.
Okay. We've obviously got the handicap as well, the Ladbrokes Trophy at 355. Couple of interesting entries in this. Kadati Dory 5-1, Holy Smoke, Cody Saint Frey, the Doyen Chief Deep Cave, Blue Kangaroos double entered. Anything you like in here?
Yeah, I mean, the top to the market are obviously Katito won this last year, £11 higher this year, but still improving, and this does look a bit of a weaker race, only off 136 still. So there's still a lot of mileage in that mark, and particularly in second last time behind Heracles Westwood, who's just a little bit outstayed. This kind of easier track, probably helping him a little bit. So you can see why he's favourite. Holy Smoke's been, I think, coming back to 3 miles is definitely a good move. So there's 2 runs at Cheltenham in December, November anyway. They were reasonable enough, but the trip's just a little bit too short for him. And I think coming up to 3 is going to help. There's definitely a big prize in him this season. He's the right age and the right weight. At 10-8, 10-10, 10-5, 10-6, all be kind of winning weights of this recently. So he's right in the ballpark. And I think out of the top 2, I think I would rather back him. The other one, I thought Lead on the Park could run well at a bit of a price if they go here, the Ben Pauling yard. So again, he's similar age, similar kind of weight bracket. The nice run at Kempton, 2 mile 4. He just looks ready for 3 to be when he ran behind Look Away. Just did a little bit too much in top, mistake 3 out, and he got tired a little bit. But going up and trip, I don't think it's a negative, because at Newbury 2 mile 6, he ran quite well in November. And I just think the yard maybe had a kind of post-Christmas dip slightly at that time as well. We didn't quite run his race. But there's still work to be done in his mark of 131. So I think if out of those horses at the longer prices, I thought he was the most interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the top 2 I can understand. The one I'm quite interested with the 2 Emmett Mullins runners. I'm chancing other ones. Obviously, been quite consistent this season. Again, had a bad run last time out at Boxing Day at Leopardstown. Again, just a kind of difficult race.
It's too short, isn't it? I mean, not too
Yeah,
mile.
the one
back
that
up here,
I prefer Rising Dust actually. If they go here, he's been just a kind of really progressive horse this season. Been on the go a lot, like kind of won the last 3. 7 starts he's had over fences. Just I would be interested in whatever one they go with here. I think that they've obviously each way chances. And I actually was with you. I thought Lead on the Park was an interesting runner as well. So kind of looking maybe towards the kind of 12, 14-1 brackets for horses, but we'll see what's declared. Also on Saturday we've got takes about 30 minutes to run this race. We've got the Ascot Chase. It's your favourite race of the season, isn't it?
No, it's not.
It's obviously an interesting one. A work in progress, 5-1 here. You've got Jubilee Express, Anglers Crag, 11 on Luca. Anything you like in this? 4 miles, 1.5 furlong. It's actually harder to watch them run in it, I'd imagine. Yeah,
I mean it's going to be long, and it's soft and it's raining out there as well. A lot of people have latched on this Dom of Mary 10-12-1 bracket, and he's kind of won the Always Try at the back end of November for this. Ran all right in the Welsh National in 6th. This is his kind of bag. Another James Owen horse, really. The yard are going quite well, so I can see him running quite well at 10-12-1 bracket. He was the first kind of port of call in this race, but it's not one that I've taken a deep dive in. Anglers Crag obviously won it last year. He'll be popular again. Knockanore pops up in these races from time to time, off kind of a very featherweight. Freddie Mitchell claiming 3, so he'll have these, but sometimes these races can cut up. This one seems that it won't be. So actually, if these all turn up, it could be quite a good race, actually. So, I mean, be surprised if Mr. Vango went, but I mean, he's declared, and again, a bit like La Home Press at the start of the season, where he's just kind of knocking people out of the weights, really, by running in these things at 154, 155. So, yeah, I mean, I was looking at Dom and Mary first time, and I think he's a reasonable each way price, and I think a lot of people are kind of quite liking his chances.
We've got as well on Saturday, we've got the Bobby Joe Chase, probably more national clues in there, like Lecky Watson, Grange West, and Jerry Colomber entered in that. Sunday, we've got a grade 2 at Foytville, the National Spirit. Cabral de Mathan looks to be going here, obviously didn't make Haydock due to the ground. Potter's Charms in this as well, Lucky Place. Again, there's not a lot of difference in terms of Cabral de Mathan and Potter's Charm and ratings and Lucky Places as they're thereabouts. You'd imagine it's between those three and maybe like a North Susan's maybe been aimed at something else.
Yeah, Dan Skelton's a bit more confident going Stairs Hurdle in his stable tour this week. So coming out here, and you expect him to take that out. Really, I mean, he should have. This was the right race for him anyway. Yeah, improving up a Storm's age like 13, I think. So I mean, but yeah, he's the one to beat. Potter's Charm, it's a right race for him to go in. This is his level 2.5 mile grade 2 horse. He's obviously got a chance in Lucky Place coming back down trips, no harm. He's been a bit rusty this season, but they've abandoned kind of fences and going hurdles. So I mean, they're three really good horses pushing 150 or just in 150 bracket. So, but you'd expect Cabral de Matan to kind of maintain his kind of upward trajectory here. And if he wins here well and if he settles quite nicely, then yeah, he could be a live player in the Stairs. Just don't think that that's kind of the right race to go up to 3 miles with him personally. But it's more of an unknown than a cast iron negative.
Yeah, and we'll have our selections on Saturday and Sunday. We have probably a lot of people are wondering what's happening on Friday. I'm going to ask you about this because I'm looking at this just now, and there's obviously a lot of nonsense going on social media about is Constitution Hill going to get into this Suddle race. What do we make of this?
I don't care, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I think he probably will. He needs one to come out, doesn't he? And there's 3 possibles that could come out for him. I think by hook or by crook he'll probably line up.
Daddy Longlegs, Ryan Moore in the saddle is news that's just coming to me just now.
Right, okay, well, big whoop. Yeah, and it's a 7:30 race, isn't it now? So, look, I'm not interested, but I mean, a lot of people are. I think he'll probably get a run. We'll see what Declaration Time do. The funny thing about it is, though, if the sponsors didn't put the prize money up, he would have been guaranteed a run. So the fact that they've came up with some money, it's attracted more runners than possible. And for a horse that's been staged for a race that's been staged for one specific horse to get in, the fact that that specific horse might not get in now is peak British racing, really. Overall, like, I don't really see what you can learn from it in regards to a champion hurdle. I think that's just looking for a confidence booster and see if his heart's still in it. See if he can see out a race. See if he can kind of be. See if he can actually. Well, he will finish it out, but see what the finishing effort's like. I think that's the only thing you can glean from it. Even this morning, Nicky Henderson's waking up every single day thinking, should I run? Should I not run? That's the stress of the situation, because a horse like that, generational talent, becomes a little bit public.
What would you do?
I would give up. I would retire him. I wouldn't have the minerals to go on, really, if he was mine. I think you've done enough. Can you go through watching that again for which would be the 5th time? 3rd time would fall, 3 falls in 4. The Punchestown effort was deplorable. I would be drawing stumps, but you're 3 weeks away from a really open champion hurdle, and you can see why you roll the dice. Because if he does come back to any semblance of old form, he would beat these pretty comfortably. But every passing day, it's a bigger if, and connections are brave enough to roll the dice. Fair play to them. I hope it goes well, but it's a big decision to make. Maybe Friday night will have a bearing on it a little bit. If he checks out on the flat and he doesn't pick up, then it's curtains, isn't it? Really, for anything. So it's going to be important in that regard. But whether he wins by 12 lengths or whether he gets beat by 12 lengths, it's immaterial to me. Put it this way, I'd rather lay him at 46 and back him at 46 for it. But how sharp's to be coming to stalls, you can just see maybe missing the break and just coming in his own time and be like a piece of work, really, where how many can you get past down the street and see if he can quicken. I think that's what you want to kind of see. Can he actually quicken the business end of races, even if it's a flat race? Maybe inject some confidence in him or something. But the fact that he's still going to be doubtful afterwards anyway, and you're not going to learn anything in the most important metric, which is jumping, then it seems to be mostly a pointless exercise. But some people follow them because they just love racing, they love top quality horses like that, and they want to persist, and they want to kind of keep the faith in them. So I can see that point. Wouldn't be for me. I think the ship sailed, sadly, but you'd be happy enough if you're pleasantly surprised about it.
We will see what happens. We'll see if he gets in first of all, and we'll see what happens. That's going to make no difference to me whether he runs here and goes for. If he goes for a champion hurdle again, it maybe change something. As I say, we're going to kind of cover these races in depth in the next couple of weeks. But
still kind of schooling quite regularly, isn't he? But I mean, again, there was kind of an advert of that Wincanton race must have been perfect for. I mean, we did a 3-runner race. You're hacking around.
Yeah.
You learn a lot more there. But I think it just shows that it's so much of a risk to just send them over hurdles right now, and there's no inner confidence or belief. And like, I mean, the thing that kind of gets my goat a little bit about it is all the schooling reports saying it's fine. It doesn't matter, you know. I mean, schooling is schooling. I mean, you're not jumping at champion hurdle pace. You're not going to replicate that at home.
No.
You know, and it's interesting with a couple of Irish trainers think that he might be over schooled now, and because he's jumping them so often through the day, when he's in a race environment, he's got absolutely no respect for them. So I mean, that's a kind of interesting theory that's been floated around a little bit, and maybe he's kind of overdone. When Lossiemouth fell at the champion hurdle, she didn't school at all until she saw the track at Cheltenham and popped up and was fine. So maybe he could be. Maybe because you should be kind of maybe just left alone in that regard, and he might surprise you coming out. But yeah, I mean, I just think schooling's like training, isn't it? You know, you get in football, you get good trainers and stuff like that. But you know, jumping at pace, I mean, if you put me in a 110-meter hurdle race, I would jump some of them. If you put me in the Olympic final, I'm going to look like a clown, am I, and batter through them.
Yeah,
so I mean, it's a bit like that.
And it was the other thing as well. They said that I can't remember the gentleman's name that they said they'd sent him to for a hurdle setup. It was the equivalent of just the thing with the eye test, wasn't it? It was like,
yeah, it's a professional kind of eventing thing, isn't it? You know, again, I think that's a kind of like English way of doing things. Well, in Ireland, they kind of sometimes know when to back off horses like that a little bit, and sometimes we hear when you've got a top notcher because they're so rare, you kind of rub them in cotton wool every day, and you strive every day, and you take your focus, and you try and do. Sometimes taking a step way back can help in the bigger picture of things, and maybe that's what they've done. They've kind of tried to look too deeply to stuff that's not there, and maybe just not school him, and he might just turn up in a race, and he might just light up all of a sudden. So yeah, like it's regardless anyway, so it's a long way back. But yeah, Friday night will interest some people, it won't interest others. And
I'll watch it. I won't watch any of the other kind of races. Again, I wasn't a fan of the overall atmosphere kind of style. The racing was fine, but overall, like, if I'm listening to pundits, I want to hear them. I don't want to hear noise in the background of like what sounds like a nightclub. Like that doesn't do for me at all. But
I just don't want to watch all weather muck on a Friday night, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll watch it because, like, as I say, it's going to be interesting to see what happens and see what he does. But I'm not.
The Night Agent's coming out in Netflix season 3, so I'm more likely to watch that.
Yeah, there's stuff together. There'll be a good Friday night championship game I might check out as well. And again, we've got the Genesis Invitational. There'll be stuff to watch, but I'll maybe tune in at 7:30 just to see what happens. But moving ahead to the Cheltenham Festival, we do have another Ante-Post pick. We've got 5 each. We've had 5 each so far. We will do a wee kind of recap of them next week when we get more kind of weights and kind of like things, and maybe get an idea more of what's going to turn up in certain races. But we do have another one to add to our portfolios. Callum, where are you going this week?
Yeah, the Irish don't have a strong ultimate record, but I'm going to go there. I think it's a weak race. I really do, particularly at the top of the market. Blaze the Way, 25-1. It's got a £6 hike. 140 to 146. So it rules out the National Hunt Chase. So this is really the only place to go. I mean, they could go the Plate, but it's definitely not it's definitely a 3 mile plus horse the way it finished in October in that big Cheltenham race. A horse that won quite well from out the weights, beat Lahon Press by 5 lengths. Lahon Press has come out and ran second quite well, credibly in Grade 2s. Behind Spillane Tower and Horticolor, who are reasonably well fancied for Gold Cups. So it's definitely not bad form. It only got a £2 hike for being out the weights that day, which was kind of nullified up to 140. It's been hiked to 146 to the Grand National entry, but takes out the National Hunt Chase, but the National Hunt Chase, I think, looks 10 times as deep as Ultima. There's a lot of depth to these novice races. I think it's the same with Jack Richards on the plate in the regard. I think the open race is a lot harder. It ran in kind of heavy ground the last day in Ireland where it was just a little bit too attritional for it, but I think that was a float up from Cheltenham, trained by Mags Mullins. It's an 8-year-old. December, sorry, was a Cheltenham run anyway, but it ran really well. It's fifth, home press franked it. The third, the short goal's been put away for it. The fourth, Hercules Westwood came out and won. The fifth, the Dawn Chief has come out and won as well. So it's reasonable form. Did it quite well, and we know Danny Mullins wants to ride this horse. So, I mean, can't do it in the Kimmuir because it's an amateur race. That's why he didn't enter. The plate would be too short, so I wouldn't be interested there. And I think that's why we come here. And I think 146 is manageable in ultimate. It's kind of mid 140s is where you kind of roughly want to be. It's 25 to 1. And that's also a non-runner no bet with William Hill. I mean, you can't really get much better even without the concession in open company. So it's thought I won it well. It's still very unexposed, 7 turning 8. And there's a lack of unexposed horses in this race, I think. It's like go to like Lucinda Russell, Mayertown could be definitely on a workable mark if things go right. But I think people will be wise to go in the lead there. And I think a pace collapse when this horse kind of came confidently from the back as well in December when it had a sighter and won really well in hand. I just think it's got a big chance at 25 to kind of end the Irish weight for it. The top of the market doesn't appeal to me. I think Jagger's pretty exposed, could win, but I think we know kind of what he is. I think Johnny Who's the danger there off 146. I think that's the JP McManus danger horse for the Neils. Needs to get his act together, but I think that's the one that I would fear the most at the top of the market. King of Answers, going back to Kelso in a race it was entitled to win, going up 10. I think coming up here would be difficult. 140. I mean, these horses now in the Russell Yard, they're not missed for this race, and you can see that in the market accordingly. Just think he's a bit unexposed. He's a bit of a sleeper, and I think if it was maybe a more prominent Irish trainer than Mags Mullins, I think it would maybe garner a bit more attention. But it's a fact it's had a sight at Cheltenham in December in a very similar race. It's working out reasonably well in behind. I had a float up in Ireland that you can pretty much put in the bin. I think, and the handicapper's not missed it, but I think 6 is fine. 146 for an ultimate anyway. It would put me off National Hunt Chase because I think that's a harder race. And I think there's like the likes of Backmere sat me here, that are flung in. There's 2 or 3 there. I mean, there's one Rebecca Curtis toss at the top of the market as well that looks
Newton Tornado.
That looks pretty good. I mean, that's the front of the market that I wouldn't be wanting rushing to oppose. It's definitely Ultima. I think you can maybe see a turn up here. And that horse at 25 is Blazes Away. I think it's got a reasonable chance.
Yeah, I think it's a good shout. I think again, the Irish record in terms of winning isn't good, but they do have horses that place in it. Like
get closer, don't they? I mean, Meeting the Water's a big gamble. They do get closer, and Melina Girl was quite unlucky. So I mean, they are getting closer in it for sure. So yeah, I mean, fast or slow beating it, didn't he? Bumped into Corrick Ramble. So I mean, they still point good ones to it.
Yeah, they do, and I think it's a good shout again. And we'll kind of see what happens again. The Ultimas, I don't fancy Jaguar at all at that price. Again, he might tell them.
He's, I mean, it's a bit like Jericho de Repre. You can see why they're near the top of the market anyway, because they're going to run. They're going to be thereabouts, but there are plenty of other horses there that have got as good a chance as them.
Yeah, and I think again, there's a few. I've actually had a few handicap bets in the past couple of days since the entries came out that we'll maybe touch on. I backed Zillow. You'll be pleased to know. I did have a bet in Zillow.
Yeah, he's kind of double entered, but again, it was one at least. So I mean, I do think he's a 2 miler, so he's going to go county hurdle. But I mean, there are a few now that are coming through with what that look maybe a bit stronger, particularly in the Mullins Yard now. But I do think he's kind of hidden and unexposed a little bit, and he'll get in the bottom of the weights. I think it's a long shot at Town, and I'll be on him now. But I mean, it doesn't matter, and they can still pop up. So yeah, I mean, I would much rather play these kind of prices at this stage than at the top of the market, because the ones that are going to top of the market, you're going to learn a lot more about them, and they can't really shorten that dramatically.
Yeah, well, I am going to go in the Fred Winter. We're going to have an idea what's going to happen in the Tuesday. This is the third and fourth race of the week, so we'll have an idea what's happening. I'm going to go for a horse of Jessica Harrington's. Now, not many jump horses she has now, but really good to see her again. She's done well at Cheltenham in the past, and if she's going with a horse, she's going to have a good chance. And the one I like in the Fred Winter is Quinta Delago, 4 runs over hurdles. Brought out in October at 33 to 1 you can get, 25 to 1 non-run or no bet if you want, but I'm going to play the 33 to 1. 12th October won a race at Cork on decent ground. I don't think he's necessarily ground reliant because he won in soft and heavy in November at Punchestown. Sixth in the race at Christmas behind Narciso Haas. What was fifth in that race? Do you remember?
Ben Hur was fifth.
Ben Hur finished.
It's the right form line.
It is the right form line. Entered in here. Currently off a mark of 125. I don't think he's going to get much more than that. He was third at Fairy House behind Proactive and Macho Man. I think both would be in the top 5 of the Mullins juvenile hurdlers, which I think puts him in good. It ran pretty well in third that day. Thought his running sixth was actually the best. He finished ahead of Munsif, who's been well fancied for this race. And My Teens, who's well fancied, hasn't been entered, but Munsif has been well backed. I think 125 is a decent mark here, and I think just the fact that Jessica Harrington doesn't have many entries in the Cheltenham Festival, if they're going with one, I think there'll definitely be a lot of confidence. The only 2 entries she's got is Quinta Delago and Jatara in the Mayor's Hurdle, so I'd imagine she'll take her chance here. 125, he's got in Ireland. I think if he even gets to below 130, I think he's got a good chance in this, and it's a 33 to 1 dart in a race that a lot of attention's been made in the top of the market. I think there's a few flyers like a Ben Hur, like a Quinta Delago, a couple more, maybe like Genealogy as well. But I think Quinta Delago's got a very, very good chance, and I think has been in the right races, been beaten by the right horses, got some good form lines as well. That beat Ole Ole, who's in the kind of radar for this as well for a lot of people. I think 33 to 1. It's an each way dart at a juvenile hurdle that I think each way players can sometimes improve and certainly go close in it. And I think 125, if they get to a 129 or something like that, he'll get a tax. I think anything other than 130, I'm quite happy with and think it's a good chance.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what the handicapper does with these horses because you're kind of, I'm kind of optimistic that the top of the market are going to be seen by the handicapper, and they're the ones that get whacked, and the ones in behind with collateral form won't. The likes of Ben Hur and that horse, that'll just stay mid 120s, high 120s. So I don't really see anything really that merits putting them up. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's a good race to aim at for a horse of that profile that's just a little bit under the radar, but is been racing in the right kind of races for it in prep wise. So yeah, but there's definitely a good few there that are interesting. There's good support for Glenn to Glenna Josephs. I think that was given a positive mention. Yeah, I mean it looks a really, really deep race. A lot of kind of sneaky ones in there. Sometimes you kind of going outside and say, oh, well, it's only kind of I only really like 4 or 5 of these. I think it's hard to rule out a lot of them. So yeah, I mean, a bit like the Ultimate Regatta, I think it looks a lot more open than the market suggested. I mean, Saratoga, the juice has been strangled out the price massively. And I think it makes kind of next to no appeal now, really. But you need to be lobbed in seriously to win this, and we've got trainers in our corner. I mean, if they do turn up, I mean, Ben Hur and yours, I mean, Jessica Harrington, Noel Mead, they are serious operators when they've got one. And if they do turn up, they merit a lot of respect and they'll get a lot of second glances in the week or in the build up or on the day, and they might be nibbled at. So they're definitely capable. Yeah, it's definitely a chance. It's definitely one of those 1 or 2 ways kind of events. But yeah, absolutely no. I mean, I quite like it.
Yeah, hopefully we get a wee run. We'll obviously be back next week where we'll maybe do a bit more like the kind of the clues for Cheltenham are probably going to be in the bag after this weekend, so we'll maybe take a look at the kind of bigger races and kind of see where we're at with them. We're going to have our big bumper preview show. That is going to be on the 6th of March. It's be Friday the 6th of March, so that'll be a good kind of viewing for you if you're looking for some clues the weekend before the festival. Callum, all that is left me to do is thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks again. See you next week.
Thank you very much, everyone who's tuned in. We'll have selections over the weekend, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.